Let's see what we have as editorial cartoons, and this is what has been drawn today by Steno, that is inside the People Daily. I decide all this romance allowance, travel allowance, this is all about the MCAs, bodyguard, cars, super health cover, houses, guns, all bills paid for, huge salaries, spouse allowance, and of course, you know the way they've been gagging for more allowances. Lately, they don't want car loans, but they want car grants. And this is what also has been aptly captured by Steno inside the People Daily this morning. And let's see also what we do have in the Daily Nation today. We'll see what Victor has drawn for us. Right. I still insist Jubilee is intact. And you can see the way it is there on top patch. There is a deputy president who is in a whippetieri mode, as captured there by Victor. And this car, you can see the way it is dilapidated, of course, on top of the rocks there. And we have Raila Odinga also leaning on it. We can see some of the Jubilee party members also jutting out their heads there. Is that Governor of Kiambu? The senator can confirm. Yeah, you know the face of the Governor of Kiambu from, yeah, very well. This is Kivano Matangi, you can tell us. It looks like your governor from Kiambu there. And we have also Senator Orengo there. And Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. But the car, if you may see down there, the bumper is written, Tulikuwa pamoja. That is your tagline today. Tulikuwa pamoja. Jubilee is tuko pamoja nowadays.
Bado tuko pamoja.
Jubilee tulikuwa pamoja.
Bado tuko pamoja.
Bado tuko pamoja.
Well.
We should, Aaron Cheriot, I want him to comment on this. Tulikuwa pamoja?
No.
Tuko pamoja? Which one is now the tagline today?
Tuko pamoja lakini tumekuwa wengi.
Mmekuwa wengi kwa Jubilee.
It's like a family where there are new entrants who you don't understand the operations in the family.
Yeah, but this is very telling for you also, Otiende, because it seems also you can see Senator Orengo is there. I don't know whose legs or the leg is this one is.
It's
that
Babayo.
Is Babayo's leg also jutting out, or he's trying to get in? But Orengo also is in the Jubilee car as well. Otiende, is this the latest development?
Well,
maybe you can.
I don't think there's any major development there, because that cartoon depicts actually the reality. And the reality so far is that we chose to work with government. And the other reality is that the original Jubilee is now Jubilee Tanga Tanga and Jubilee Team Kenya.
These are now Jubilee Team Kenya as well.
Yes, but we know that in this panel, Wamatangi has always denied that is the state of facts. I do not know whether today he will review his facts.
Yeah, so Wamatangi
we also know that in this panel, my friend Aaron Cheriot, while denying the existence of that reality, laments it. And even today, you will hear him lament it. So I do not know.
Let's hear from also Boni Khalwale. Yeah, looking at this editorial cartoon today, you say?
This is just for entertainment this morning.
Is it for entertainment?
It doesn't have any scientific value. So it has served its purpose.
So it does not also depict the reality within Jubilee?
No, it has served its purpose. You can see it was meant to excite Otienda Molo. It has achieved. And then we just leave it there.
We leave it there. Yes. Okay, Jacob video.
So excited me. It has also excited me.
It has excited
Not only Otienda Molo. I think Bonnie and Aaron are in denial of the true facts. This is real, and it feels like we have never spoken about it every Tuesday morning. Jubilee is on the rocks. You see the big rocks?
The big rocks.
In fact, the one they haven't hit is the big one in the bottom. I'm only shocked that Tiende is admitting that Orengo has always been in that car as a fact. That's a new revelation in the morning. I don't know where Tiende was over the weekend, but see Orengo is the rocker there. So it remains to be seen what happens this week, not going forward. I'm sure something big must happen in Jubilee this week.
Something big.
Yeah, but the security forces are gone away from them. They are now left with their mouths without physical protection. So they are real tanga. Something is going to happen.
All right, so this is what's happening in the National Assembly. We don't know maybe if the fire will now cascade down to, or it will spill over now to the Senate as well. Omatangi,
Well,
your security is intact?
no, absolutely. I mean, you know, one thing about senators, Dibal, is senators have chosen for all this time, and I myself, as a case in point, to really learn to live the way we went to the Senate as servants of the people, and not really to either aim or revel around the trappings of power. And so I can assure you all the time, we are comfortable with minimum security, or even sometimes without it. I mean, if you come to either my home here in Nairobi, up country, I live without that security. I mean, I have not stolen anybody's anything. As you know, the last time you remember how Jacoy was making us laugh here, saying that I'm looking for sympathy.
After you saying you're an offer.
But I've not been looking for that. That is my lifestyle. It's Dibal today. If you come to my home, you just knock the gate. Nobody will ask you. You come in, either here or in Kiambu, and that's the way I've lived.
Okay.
Yeah.
I withdraw and apologize.
Okay, let's move on a bit and also take you back to see also how the Daily Nation looked way back in
We've already
1963.
finished on security.
Yeah,
Are we done on security?
We're done?
we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. We have,
It's a serious issue.
yeah, it's a serious issue. We'll come back to it. But I just want to get done with also what is on the front. This is how the Daily Nation looked in 1963. The Magnificent Seven, the toughest rally in the world. The East African safari ended at 2:25 p.m. That was the history there, or history shown to you this morning. Yesterday, when the last of the Magnificent Seven finishers, Rover PS rolled warily into Nairobi Control. That's how it was. And the paper was going for 30 cents.
Finally.
30 cents then, right?
Finally,
Comparing to what
the legend is
is
up for
it is the
grabs.
price right now, that has risen exponentially. Also, keep British bases. This is what Kadu was saying there. British military bases in Kenya should be kept until the Somali secession threat is over and independent government has all the facts about future international relations. That is also another story that was on the front page of the Daily Nation in 1963. Maybe just also to get another snippet of information from these dailies. Page 2. 34 arrests at Isiolo. 34 arrests at Isiolo. Kenya's weekend troubled spots, the Northern Frontier Province and Central Nyanza were all quiet yesterday, but under strict police patrols and with a dusk to dawn curfew still in operation in Isiolo. Also, this was happening in 1963. Killed by rustlers. All right, is another story there. Youth wingers detained. 5 KANU youth wingers members have been arrested at the Chemelil Sisal estate, Songor. The police reported yesterday. That is how it looked. Also, the voice of Pan-Africa or Pan-Africa is another story that you can actually get there from the archives, how the Daily Nation looked way back in 1963. And lastly, I want to show you also from our archives this particular picture, courtesy of the Daily Nation. And maybe I can go back to a panelist if maybe you can pick up this particular face. He was a senator then.
Oh, this is from my home.
This
This
is
is Clement Lubembe.
Clement, correct, Clement Lubembe.
Yeah.
And he was then appointed Secretary General of the Central Organization of Trade Unions by President Kenyatta after both the Kenya Federation of Labour and the rival Kenya African Workers Congress were disbanded and new elections ordered. A long-time trade unionist and also a senator, Mr. Lubembe. He's here answering questions about the future of both the new labor structure and the Senate. Right, Kotu. It seems then that Kotu is actually always right on the alley of lawyers. Why do we have lawyers taking these positions of Kotu? I've just noticed. There are so many lawyers within Kotu.
Oh, really?
And Boni Khalwale, you're just looking at me. You want to comment on that?
Yes, it is true. It's a historical fact.
It's a historical fact.
Why
is it so?
That Lubembe came from Ekolomani, the bigger Ekolomani, but on the Shinyalu side. And then when he handed over, he gave it to J.J. Mugala, again from Ekolomani, but from the Idaho side. And after the death of Mugala, of course, and then Atwoli took over. So it has that impact. But the long and short of it is that trade unions, people groom each other. So with Lubembe at the top, he groomed JJ, then JJ groomed Atwoli, and we have upshots that come beneath them. So it is not surprising that Luyas tend to be historically more prominent in the trade unions than anybody else.
All right.
And also, Luyas had the propensity to be in employment rather than be self-employed.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Senator Matangi, you seem frustrated. What is wrong?
No, I was wondering whether you fired all your staff. I mean,
Why?
Because I was trying to get somebody to pour some
No,
hot
but
water.
you can ask me. I'm here to serve you.
Well,
You want some tea?
Come back to this statement.
Absolutely,
Then
Dibal,
your question.
but you see, you are busy engaging Halwale.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So I had to let you finish.
Okay.
But then after you're done, then
I'll come serve you. Don't
serve
worry.
me some
You
hot
can
water.
I will serve you some water.
Did you come here for coffee?
I didn't ask for coffee, I asked for hot water.
I think Dibal,
Yes.
let's sympathize with Omateng. He's an orphan. So he must have. No, anyway. Coming back to the question you asked. We agreed to forgo our priority. But the question you asked
a good one.
of Kotu,
Yes.
I think while it's historically true that lawyers may have been in Kotu a lot, it is not historically true that lawyers have dominated the trade union. I think what is true, if you look at the trade union movement generally,
Yes.
Whether it's from the times of Tomboy and all, you find lawyers and Luos tend to be in trade unions a lot, even currently. And it's not just Kotu, basically all the trade union movements. And perhaps one of the reasons is what Senator Halwale has spoken about. But the other one is also the reality of being politically, cautious and ready to agitate for what they believe in. And so it explains not just the trade union movement, but even the politics of the country. At any one time, on any one score, you will find that there's a lot of agitation among the lawyers and the Luos, which I think is supposed to be a good thing. Yes.
All right. Thank you. And of course, also even that leads as a segue to, you see, the development that we had last week as far as the politics is concerned. Let's hear also what Atwoli had to say. This is now the current Secretary General of Kotu, slamming the Deputy President. Right, we seem to be having challenges with that, with the audio. We'll just get to it and we'll rectify that, right? But that really throws me off a bit. We'll try and play it again so that now we can actually get to hear what really happened. Yeah, is it okay?
Uchaguzini kumchagua president na mtapiga kura sana, itakuwa kura ya amani kwa ajili tutakuwa tumebadilisha katiba, na atakayechaguliwa president na deputy presidents, prime minister na deputy prime ministers na wale wengine mtawachagua. Na mimi nataka kuambia kitu kimoja. Jina la William Samoei Ruto haitakuwako. You can take it to the bank for free. Na hiyo sio mambo yangu. That is not mambo yangu. Usichukue ni mambo yangu. Usicheke. Haya ni mambo ya Mwenyezi Mungu muumba nchi. Haya ni mambo ya Mwenyezi Mungu muumba nchi. Mungu aliyeumba mimi akanileta hapa, akaniweka katika nafasi ya kuwaongoza wamaskini, wafanyikazi ambao hawana chochote, wanaopata pesa na kulipa kodi. Kodi hiyo na wewe unaenda kuibia. Wawaibia watoto wa maskini, wala hawana njia mbele wala nyuma. Wawanunua wabunge vijana wachanga ambao hawana chochote, kutembea na wewe, kuimba jina lako na kuchipiga kifua. Huwajui wazee, wamuita Raila Amolo Odinga mganga, na yeye si mganga. Wamuelekezea mambo ya uongo. Alikutafuta na hakukutafuta wewe. Wewe ukiwa mtoto mdogo, mwaka wewe unazaliwa, mwaka huo 66, tulikuwa tuko watu wazima. Tungelikuwa sisi ambapo tungelikutana na mama yako kwanza, sisi ndio baba zako. Watukana kamanda, watukana baba zako. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, una macho mawili, una nguvu na uwezo wako. Mimi nakuomba tu kwa niaba ya maskini, William Samoei Ruto asipate nafasi.
Ameambiwa na waganga na wachawi ati mtu fulani atakuwa kwa debe na mtu fulani hatakuwa kwa debe. Ujue mahali Kenya imefika. Lakini hata na wao tunaomba muwaombee, wajue ya kwamba Mathayo 6:35 watafute kwanza ufalme wa Mungu.
Anaitwa Francis Atuoli. Unaenda pale unabingilisha kiuno chako pale kama vile la Nyagapo alivyosema, mtu mfupi mnono round. Hana kazi. Hata unasema Ruto hatakuwa kwa ballot. Kama unajihisi umetosha, wewe ingia kwa debe na William Ruto. Wa Kenya ni sisi ndio watu tunafanya uamuzi.
When I am done with what I am doing at the moment, I will go back to being an evangelist that I was.
Wagalatia 6 na mstari wa 9 na 10 inasema msichoke kutenda mema. Na 10 inasema pale mnapopata nafasi watendee watu wote mema. Lakini inasema lakini zaidi kwa wale wa nyumba ya imani. Matthew 6:33 inasema tafuteni kwanza ufalme wa Mungu na haki yake, na haya mambo mengine yote mtafanya nini? Mtaongezewa. Si ndivyo Biblia inasema? So hawa watu wengine wanahangaika maneno mingi, wajue sisi kama Wakristo tuko na siri, na siri ni kutafuta kwanza ufalme wa Mungu na haki yake. Haya mambo mengine yote tutapata. Mashindano, vikundi ni viwili. Kuna wale wanaomwamini Mungu na kuna wale wanaoamini uganga na uchawi.
How dare you? In a funeral that is a national funeral, jamii zote za Kenya ziko hapa, unasema Waluya ni shenzi. Atuoli Waluya sisi siyo shenzi. I am a doctor of medicine. I don't know what you are yourself. Waluya meme musahulu wa balanga nga Atuoli. Kama kweli wewe uko na mabilioni yenye unasema sisi viongozi ni watu wa kuomba, imekuwaje 2013 hukutoa hata milioni 1 ama bilioni 1 usaidie Mudavadi kutafuta kura?
Kuna mwingine huko anajiita daktari, na jina la daktari ni jina linaheshimiwa sana. Kwangu nyumbani niko na madaktari wawili, wale mimi mwenyewe nimezaa. na maloya kadhaa, wahubiri wako huko, niko na political scientists, niko na wasomi. Huyu daktari wa Kakamega anaitwa Boni Kaliwale. Kaliwale kwa jina la Kibaluya ni mgonjwa. Mumsikize. Kaliwale na Kaliwale, akatiti Kaliwale, kamgonjwa kadogo. Na hako nilikaombea, nikasema katakufa kaombaji bega. Kwa ajili mama yake alipiga chang'aa, akakasomesha, kalete tofauti katika maisha, katika familia yao. Reverend, ukijua utasomesha mtoto awe muombaji, afadhali mtoto huyo angelipotea akiwa mdogo.
Francis Atwoli akizungumza kule Mombasa, ambaye yeye amesema ati kufikia 2022 William Ruto hatakuwa kwa ballot. Sasa mimi nataka nikuulize swali wewe mzee Atwoli, kwamba wakati mmoja kuna mzee alikuwa anaitwa Mushai ambaye alikuwa anakupinga wewe, ukaenda ukazungumza maneno kama hayo, na baada ya muda mchache yeye akafariki, hakung'ang'ania kiti na wewe. Sasa tunataka utuambie wewe Atwoli, siku ya leo ambayo umetangaza kuwa William Ruto hatakuwa kwa kiti 2022, unataka kumuua ama unataka kumfanyia nini ndio asikuwe kwa kiti?
Serious allegations there, and of course Aaron Cheruiyot is here to clarify this and tell us where are you getting all this information. Of course you can see that is a current state of play of politics in the country as far as the political tone and tenor in the country is concerned. Aaron Cheruiyot, maybe we begin with you from that particular bite. Those are serious allegations. Any evidentiary documents you do have with us? Where did you get this information?
There's nothing out of the norm that I have said. It only follows common sense. Don't you know that at one time, Kotu had a deputy secretary general known as Honorable Mushai, who was also a member of parliament for, what was the constituency of Matangi? Kabete constituency. He was Atwoli's deputy, and at one time they had a disagreement, and he used to speak so many things. I used to watch him on TV, speak of all the ills that are going on in Kotu, the looting of money belonging to the poor workers that Otuli pretends to be defending. And they had, it was a grave disagreement. And as you are aware, elections were coming up in Kotu. But before the time for elections, you know what happened to Mushai? Just here, not very far from us, less than 100 meters from where we are seated, he was found murdered one cold Saturday morning. And up to date, nothing has been explained of it. And at his funeral, curiously, despite him being a very high-ranking Kotu official, Kotu had no representation. His friend and comrade in the struggle, because that's what trade unionists refer to each other as, Francis Atwoli, was a no-show. He never even sent an apology. He has never spoken publicly about it. If today Otiende and I publicly disagree and we exchange a few words, then God forbid in another 2 or 3 weeks Otiende is no more and he is murdered in mysterious circumstances. Don't I owe it to the intelligence of Kenyans to just explain myself and say that Otiende and I had certain disagreements, but what has happened to me has absolutely nothing to do with me. Up to date, Francis Atwoli has never come clean to Kenyans on what happened to his comrade in the struggle.
Well, that is purely speculative.
My friend,
there are no facts.
My friend, Debal, and I wish for sometimes you can remove fillers from your head about certain issues. I have told you this is common sense, as basic as it gets, even in the village. You know, I'm surprised that you can take that line of argument. Even in the village, if two people have a disagreement and one of those persons is killed, who is the prime suspect? It's a person you had a disagreement with. I mean, it is just common sense. Unless that person who is now being accused comes out clean and gives a justification and says, I am sorry for what happened to the particular person I had a disagreement with, and but I want to tell you categorically that what happened to him has nothing to do with him, to do with me. And that is a challenge that you attend, because Atwoli argues and says the name of the deputy president will not be on the ballot come 2022. And therefore, my question to him was simple. Are you planning to import the very bad non-democratic tendencies that you you have inculcated into KOTU leadership for the last 20 or 30 years. Do you have a clip, Dibal, as a leading media house in this house, showing any time that Francis Atwoli being elected, where you have a meeting and you have a resolution that have said, finally, Francis Atwoli has been elected to represent the workers? There is nothing of a sort. All you know is that these are boardroom deals where people sit and agree. So we do not want him to import his bad habits that he has learned in the trade union and bring it to the national politics of Kenya, Dibal.
Yeah. Otiende, what you're hearing, this is serious ramification, isn't it?
Well,
first, from a legal standpoint, you can also...
It's not only serious, I think it is unfortunate, because I know Aaron. Aaron is my friend, and he's usually a gentleman. And no matter how picked you are, I think there are some lines that are dangerous. The late Mushai was my friend, and in fact my client. I even attended the funeral. We know he was brutally murdered. We know that people were taken to court. I have not followed up the case, so I'm not quite sure whether they were convicted or not. But the fact that he was murdered in such brutal circumstances, the fact that people are charged, it's an area, therefore, that we should tread on very carefully. And if Aaron Cheruiyot has anything that he believes can assist in the prosecution and, bringing to book those who are involved, then he should actually go to the police. Because no matter how much you hate Atwoli and all that, there are certain statements you should not make so carelessly on national TV. Number two, I think that whole series of clips points to a very unfortunate situation. The first of what it points to is the very dangerous trend of politicization of prayers in church.
Yes.
We politicians have traditionally politicized funerals. But I find funerals a little more easier to explain, a little forgivable. But this trend that the Deputy President has led us in, of going to church and now spewing and calling people waganga na wachawi in church, or people calling others, these siasa za viuno, I think it's a very unfortunate trend. I think if people want to talk raw politics and talk some of those things, funeral might be excusable, but call a political rally. But this idea of going to church, we are actually starting to bastardize the church. The third point, though, is, yes, I heard Francis Atwoli say in 2 bits, he said first that the Deputy President's name will not be on the ballot paper. And then he later says that he's praying to God that the name will not be there. I understood Atwoli to be talking not as a KOTU leader, but obviously as a prophet of some sort. Clearly, Francis Atwoli has chosen to be a prophet. Now, I don't usually argue with heavenly matters. So if somebody says that he's speaking as a prophet, I can't argue with that. But I think that it is also not right. Even if you disagree with the Deputy President, and I disagree with him, I would not wish anything like that. I think that political contest must be allowed to be fair. Anybody who wants to be in the ballot paper should be in that ballot paper, and people should therefore lose the elections with legitimate, in legitimate circumstances, as I expect that he will. But so that threat from Atwoli, and the also silent threat from Aaron Cheruiyot and the others who are also now attacking him, is equally dangerous. Lastly, I agree with him, though, that it is, in all likelihood, we will have a new constitution. In all likelihood, we will have a reformulated executive in that new setup. Now, my prediction is, because the president is on record as supporting that, and the president has spoken and said that, in his view, for us to achieve the cohesion we need in this country, we must avoid the winner-take-all form of executive that we have now. Raila Amolo Odinga is on record as supporting that. The Deputy President is on record speaking at Chatham House as opposing that. I think that the day that document that proposes the new reformulation will come out is the day the camel's back will have been broken in terms of the Deputy President and the President, because then the Deputy President will come out and oppose it as he has, and I expect the President and those of us who support it will support it, and it will no longer be tenable for the two of them to sit or continue together. That is my prediction.
All right. Boni Khalwale, it seems also Atwoli has really taken special umbrage on what you had earlier statement. your earlier statement, and this was a rejoinder to what you'd earlier said. Your reaction?
I think, seriously speaking, the family of Mr. Atwoli should urgently consider checking him into a psychiatric clinic. The old man is unwell. And I hear one of his children is a specialist in psychiatry. So he is wasting a lot of time. The old man must be checked into a psychiatric clinic to be certified that he's fine. The second point is Atwoli, in his outbursts, he's making very, very inflammatory statements against the deputy president. And I don't blame young Cheruyot for the remarks he made, because even Amondo, you know, in law, that there is something called circumstantial evidence. It has a lot of space in court. And I think that is basically what Cheruyot was referring to. About the inflammatory nature of the statements by Atwoli, it should worry us that should, God forbid, anything happen to the deputy president, we don't know how we would tilt the nation. Kenyans will remember that in Rwanda, this kind of inflammatory statement started, and then Juvenile Habyarimana had an accident in flight, and that was the beginning of the Rwanda genocide. I therefore want to appeal to Kaparo with his commission to rein in on Atwoli so that Kenyans can see that something is being done. Failure to do that leaves room for remarks like the one that Cheruyot has made, and many, many people are going to join in. The third point I wanted to make is that Atwoli appears to curse me, to attempt to curse Ruto. If Atwoli was a Luhya, he would know that in Luhya culture, any old man cannot purport to curse any child. In Luhya culture, Atwoli, be informed. We welcome you for having settled in our community. Be informed, Atwoli, that the only old man who has the power to curse a child is the father. And in fact, the modus operandi of the curse is well defined in our culture, how your father can curse you and how your mother can curse you. So for him to purport that he can curse everybody, he should just agree that he is speaking to witchcraft. And I don't blame the deputy president, therefore, for using the word muganga. Witchcraft, which would attempt to bewitch somebody, gives somebody, gives the witch the kind of power that Atwoli is pretending to have. Look, let me tell you clearly. I come from a place called Marinya. That place in Marinya is in Kakamega, and the only old man who can curse me has passed on. There's no other old man who can curse me. But there are a lot of old people like Atwoli who can bewitch me. And to ward off that being bewitched, we rely on the Holy Spirit to protect us.
But he thinks you're the one who's sick. Because even your name
No, he was not saying
sick.
I was sick.
Yeah.
He was saying my name.
Your name, sort of to speak.
Again, if he was a lawyer, Atwoli would be understanding how we name lawyer children. The name I have, I don't have it by dint of having been unwell. I have it because I'm a great-great-grandson of Khalwali Simbwa. So that's how we name our children. But he comes from Okwala. How they name children in Okwala, maybe they name after diseases or that kind of thing. I don't understand. The last point I want to make is that Atwoli has spoken to the issue of constitutional amendment. Atwoli, this is not the first time he's being used as a litmus paper on how the country would take it, because somebody used him to test the waters and say, Uhuru is too young to go to retire, because at the back of whoever was sending him, They want to tempt the president so that the president can start thinking that I can continue being a president. I want to urge the president to ignore Atwoli, to ignore Kalonzo Musyoka, who want to prolong his term, to respect our constitution. Even Barack Obama, much younger than Uhuru, has gracefully opted out of office, respected the constitution. Joseph Kabila in Congo, much younger than Uhuru, has also respected the constitution and moved out of office. Finally, should Atwoli, who purports to be driving the Luya cause, be meaning what he's saying, how come he used the opportunity in Mombasa to endorse Joho? And yet in the funeral where we had a diff with him, back home in Kakamega, he was trying to push the case for Musalia. Here is a man who has settled in our community, and he wants to take advantage of the vulnerability of our political situation at the moment to advance his cause. He should just admit it. He's the chief agent of his cousin Raila Odinga in the Luo Nation. That's all. And we're going to take him for it. He is not as strong as Kenyans want to think, because he has run twice for parliament.
Thank you.
And twice he has been bitten.
Right. Let's get a reaction from Jacob Midio. You think he's a chief agent of Raila Odinga?
No.
Maybe also your reaction to all these episodes that you've seen.
What I find interesting is that Bonnie, just a minute ago, was saying Atwoli is a lawyer when he was talking about trade unions.
From Ikoro.
Now Atwoli is all of a sudden.
Now he sees being a
he's
lawyer.
now my brother-in-law, because my wife comes from Ukwala. The politics has gotten so dirty, and I've been saying this here debate. The only thing I disagree with is talking about people's mothers in public rallies and calling people wachawis and lying about yourself, lying about the scenarios. I think.
But where is this wachawi narrative really coming from?
From Atwoli.
It seems because even the deputy president himself have mentioned about wachawis.
Yes, but they have called each other names so much that they have run out of names. Because now, when William has finished calling Raila Mchawi, he's now calling Atwoli. I am sure the way Jubilee is going, he will call Uhuru Mchawi. The way their war is, the progression of this war, his next Mchawi I can predict is Uhuru. The thing is, he is out of order. And I disagree with one Atwoli for going to Lamu. Number one, to talk about institutional issues which he doesn't belong, like this issue of constitutional reform. That pronouncement is one that does not make us move forward as a country, especially when you talk about BBI. That pronouncement exacerbates things in a way that is negative to our unity as a country. It blocks us from becoming a nation. I have said here at the bar that there's no day you will build a bridge from Kiambu to Kisumu without going through Rift Valley. If you know any bridge, any road that can be built within the boundaries of Kenya without going through Rift Valley, tell me how delusional that would not be. But what Atwoli was saying, I have not heard Atwoli saying that William Ruto's name will not be on the ballot. Atwoli has said, he has spoken to that we are going to change the constitution. Who are they? We are going to change say we are proposing to change the constitution. Probably it's not good construction of language, but all Kenyans need to be involved in this issue about what are we changing, how do we want to change it. He has only said that when they change the constitution, wherever they're going to do it, whichever way, and it would be wrong not to involve all of us, that in the deputy prime minister, deputy president, and William Ruto will not be there. That is a no-brainer, because they are on the other side, Ruto is on this side. Why would Team Tanga expect to be put on the leadership list of the other team? These are really, it's not a big deal. What I have a big deal about is when you call people atheists and you do unethical things, then you are a hypocrite. For example, when you say Galatians, the book of Galatians speaks of those people who donate generously, they will be given more. We have never questioned the generosity of our brother William Ruto. We have never. Well, the only thing we have questioned is the source of funds. If an ordinary person like you, I know by June Dibal, you must declare everything you have to KRA. Why not politicians? This is the big problem in Kenya, and Ruto, being the deputy president of Kenya, must live within the law. He cannot say it is okay to donate monies even if their sources are questionable to the church. That is not what the church. But lastly, is I want to plead with my brother Cheriot. Some things are very dangerous. You can't come to national TV and link Atwoli to murder, because it's an investigation. Muchai was my friend. In fact, Muchai even visited me to my place when things were very hard in Nyanza. But when you link Atwoli to his murder, and Boni says it's circumstantial evidence, that is not circumstantial evidence, because Atwoli was the investigators have never told us anything. You know, the not going to a funeral cannot be evidence for murder. Really. I think it is very, very important that we use this forum for what it is, because I think it is dangerous for your network. It is also dangerous for our young brother to make such accusations, because that is not what we are here for. That is not what we are here. I think we are in a political discourse, and let us keep it there. The Bible we have said here, and I particularly have said, that there is no more Jubilee. There was, I feel sorry for my brother Bonnie that he is being sacked into a war which was constructed in his absence. If something will happen, and something big, because this Jubilee house was built around the escape from crimes of The Hague. They had no agenda. What are they doing? What is Jubilee doing? Shouldn't it have been that, I mean, how ironical is it, Dibal, that the day William Ruto goes to church and says those things is the day ERC increases fuel prices on Kenyans? Where is our focus in this Jubilee thing? They said, they fought, they killed.
Thank you.
They stole votes to lead this country. They cannot afford to lead us negatively.
Right. When we circle back, of course, we shall hear from Wamatangi as well. So we give him time also to just put his ducks in a row as well, as far as reactions to that particular clip we've just played is concerned as well. But the question is also, has now the politics come from Harambee now to church? And there are politicians, the new high priests in church as it is right now. We know about the sanctity of a pulpit, right? Should it be also adulterated with politics? That is what we want to actually focus on. And what is the church doing in this regard? Should actually politicians be banished, you know, from appearing on the pulpit? And is that money really essential for these churches if the sanctity of the pulpit is not observed? We take a short break right now. When we circle back, we continue with more. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching People and Politics. We continue with the discussion here. We promise to circle back with Wamatangi. Just a moment. Wamatangi, it's Wamatangi's time.
Yes, thank you, Dibal. In future, I would rather we have it that when we are contributing, you first finish with everybody so that we don't lose steam. Now you see.
I'll finish with everybody, then we take a break.
Once you pause, then you let me vent off. And you know, I was very ready to deal with Otiende Amolo, as you know.
Today he has a constitution, by the way.
I carried my own.
And of course, you can see, I think he's already opened up the correct pages that he wants to ask questions about. But of course, I also note, and I've said I will remind him that he's forgotten to ask me where my political allegiance is.
No, where you are in that car.
He asks me all the time. I mean, I could be deep inside.
I think so.
But, you know, I think that question that Otiende has been asking, Libal, not only of me, but of many people who think like me, I think is now more valid than ever, if you ask me. First, I would want to say, and as we have correctly said, our program and our show today and all the time on Tuesdays is people in politics. And so it is politics. But I think in my view, and in the view of many Kenyans, this is becoming too much politics at the wrong time. And I'll tell you why. And now, I'm not talking about the program. I'm talking about the country. Yes, that I believe it is too much politics, Dibal, at the wrong time. And I'll tell you, and I will tell Kenyans why this morning. You see, if you summarize everything that is happening on the political scene right now, we are way ahead of our time. We are running, we are jumping not only the gun, but we are taking ourselves to a destination where we've not arrived. While facts, circumstances, and structures are still in place way far ahead. I mean, what I mean, for example, if you look at all that conversation you've had and listened to from Atwoli to what we have replied to ourselves here, ask yourself, really, what facts, what circumstances have changed? For example, like when Atwoli speaks about the deputy president and says he will not be on the ballot in 2022. First, the deputy president, as we speak in 2019, is democratically elected and firmed up by the Constitution in that office until 2022. And the election and the position of the deputy president now had nothing to do with any statement by Atwoli in 2017. It was virtual and clear as a way of a democratic election. In 2022, whether the Constitution has changed or not, William Ruto has got the opportunity, like every other Kenyan, to put his name on that ballot by the way that he did, or the same way he has done in all the elections he has run since 1997. So I mean, you ask yourself, and if you would ask me to tell directly and advise the deputy president, I would tell him he does not need to answer somebody like Atwoli. Why should he? I mean, he's the deputy president of the republic. Atwoli is speaking somewhere in a function in the coast. What does Atwoli say that warrants the reaction of the deputy president in future? And because the DP is somebody that I know, I'll tell him ignore it. Get down to your business. You have work to do up to 2022. And you see, the more we get engaged with this kind of talk, and the more we reply to these people, the higher the temperatures rise of politics. You know, if you ask me, and I will state categorically, Dibal, all that we are seeing now is absolutely unnecessary. It has no place in today's Kenya. I mean, why are we talking about names about Halwale? And you see, to firm up exactly what I'm saying, it has now reduced to name calling. Halwale, do you mean a sick person? Do you want to, I mean, it is just simply petty. If people would agree, and I want to answer that question now with what Otiende Amolo has been asking me all the time, that where do I stand? Yes. This is firmly where I stand. Yes. That we must remain true to what we say to our people. That this kind of politics is politics that we have left behind since we became a multi-party country in 1992. I mean, how can we start doing all the things that we demonized and hated? You see, the reason why I'm not amused, Dimal, and let it be known and clear. You see, for example, in the year 2017, we ourselves in Jubilee rained it on NASA. We told off NASA for being selfish, for being unfocused, you know, for being untrue and not focusing on what the country wants. How can we reduce ourselves to exactly what we told them they cannot be? I mean, how can we get sucked into this thing? And like I've said, I want to finally be very, very clear on it. Jubilee cannot run away from the responsibility that we bestowed upon ourselves and we were entrusted on by Kenyans in the year 2017 of being government until 2022, of delivering on the promises that we took oath. The president stood in front of a crowd in Kasarani in 2017, held the Bible and the oath, and said, I'm going to serve the people. He was followed by William Samoei Ruto, who also picked the Bible in his right hand, his wife by his side, and read the oath that he's going to serve the people of this country selflessly and truthfully, according to the law of this land, until 2022. Now, what is this thing that has come in between? That has led people who took oath, who said, we know what we are doing, whom we had demonstrated already between 2013 and 2017 that we are up to the game.
And that is why Kenyans believed us. How can we just simply abstain and backtrack? We cannot. So I want, my mind and my conscience is very clear. I do not support the whole of this melee. It has no place. I cannot face my constituents who elected me in Kiambu and tell them that we are doing the right thing or I'm doing the right thing. If I was to jump into any of these bandwagons to say that we are going this way, I believe verily that what we say, what we have stood for, the promises that we made is what we have to focus on until 2022. When we have done that, then we can come back to Kenyans and tell them these are the options. And let me say this for the sake of clarity, Dibala, whether it pleases Halwale, whether it pleases Jakoyo, or any person in this panel, or any person in this republic. But I'll say this, let us not start being presumptuous. And I want to caution my leaders in Jubilee. Let's stop being presumptuous and thinking and acting as though Kenyans have no choice but to elect Jubilee in 2022. I mean, Kenyans can look us in the eye from what we are doing and say, fine, this is what we are doing. Enough is enough. We shall not elect either of you. And we'll go for somebody else.
I think that's what
and you see, just a minute, Dibala, because we have to state things the way they are. Kenyans have demonstrated it. And if you look at every leader who is fighting right now, Raila Amolo Odinga, let me finish here, Dibala. Raila Odinga, he has faced the electorate and failed in an election. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, he has faced the electorate and failed in an election. William Samoei Ruto, he has faced elections in 2007 and failed in an election. And so none of them is new to failure. And they know that Kenyans can make a decision contrary to what people think. And so I want to say to everybody, and especially to all of them, let's not act as though Kenyans must, and if they don't elect any of all of us in Jubilee or any of those people, that it's going to be doomsday. No, it will not. The sun will still rise and journey across the sun. And there will be a republic the following day. Let us do what we are supposed to do. Kenyans will elect us on the basis of the work that we've done. And do away with this politics. It's unnecessary. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But you still say you're
Quite a sermon.
Somewhere
in the boot.
In the vehicle with wheels called Jubilee that is moving. And you see, it is these other creations on the sideways. On a highway, Dibala, you're bound to find so many wannabes, so many pretenders, so people who want to be like you. I believe. No, I'm not in that one. I am in the one that is moving. And I have not shed my colors of red.
Thank you, Matangi. Let's hear from
Jubilee.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dibala, it was very, at some point I felt as if I was listening to a sermon by Matangi. I almost said amen.
Yes,
Archbishop of People and Politics.
That's what we're asking. Politicians turning out to do
if they were to preach that kind of politics, there wouldn't be a problem. Anyway, Dibala, back to this topic that you are talking about. There are two things. One, I agree with Otiende on something and beg to disagree with him on another. The thing that I disagree with him on is when he intentionally misleads the country that President Uhuru Kenyatta has at any one point given voice to this debate on whether we need to change the constitution and create these positions that they keep on talking about. The incident which my good friend Otiende refers to, I think that was in Kisumu, and when the president spoke about being against the spirit of winner takes it all, that was in reference to the handshake and absolutely nothing to do with change of the constitution. If you want the president's views on change of the constitution, I think he has on more than one occasion spoken against it and said that to him and that it wouldn't be the best time to have that kind of discussion. And there's evidence to that. One time when he was speaking to KEPSA, and I think another time during a presidential roundtable, he has brought his views so clearly. Therefore, my good friend Otiende, please do not mislead the nation. And in fact, he goes on to allege that the DP is strongly opposed to changing the constitution. If you watch the Chatham House address that you're referring to, he gave his proposals. I remember he spoke about inclusion, that was a grave mistake to leave the office of the opposition leader out of our constitution, and made various other proposals. Therefore, it is not true what you allege, that he is entirely opposed to what you're proposing. That is what I disagree with you. What I agree with my good friend Otiende is the fact that all these surreptitious machinations about not having who and who being on the ballot, you know, the comments by Atwoli are not very innocent. It's only unfortunate that maybe because of his senile nature, he revealed what he should not have revealed at a public gathering. We are aware that there are very serious negotiations going on how to put all the number of roadblocks that you can on the candidature, say, of Deputy President come 2022. You know, you have all these Murathe and Tuju, the things that they were saying, interpret the Constitution. You have Orengo on the other end saying, oh, we must impeach him. We have this targeted war on corruption, and then the intimidation of members of parliament that are seen to be allied to him. And the question which Otiende rightfully asked, and I beg with him, why all this effort to try and get rid of a particular competitor if for sure you believe that the deputy president, one, is corrupt, he's ineffective, is all those things that Jacoye keeps on reminding us. And if you believe, for example, that Jubilee has failed and hasn't fulfilled many of his mandate, why don't you leave it to the people of Kenya to decide? I am sure they are of age, they have the capability and capacity. Once his candidature is presented to them, they will make a decision whether they agree with him or they do not. But to try and use extra constitutional means to try and stop the candidature of any particular candidate, not even those that I do not agree with, that Raila Odinga, is a right that I have to defend on each and everything. Because as a leader, what kind of example will we be setting for future generations if these are the kinds of things that we are seen to be advancing and cheering? You know, Dibal, in this country we have a problem. Because as young people, for example, I look at people like Atwoli, Kamanda, aged men who, when growing up, I was told that as you age, you become wiser. What breed of old men are these who, as they age, the kind of things that they speak do not inspire the confidence of a country, are so divisive, filled with hatred? These are the things that are making many of our young people give up hope on our nation. I think a time has come where, and I agree with, that is the point now that I agree with Matangi, that when people speak things that ordinarily do not make Kenya a better country, that divide us more, that make us as a people fight each other, you should not be beaming it on national television, despite the fact that they may have paid up for that slot. Therefore, it is gravely wrong for us. You know, and Jacoye, I want you to help me with this because you alluded to it earlier. If, for example, Kenya for sure wanted to have a discussion on how to change the constitution, is Atwoli the one who is qualified to advise us? A Mugabe of trade union politics, somebody who has all the practices that are everything but democratic, advise us on how we are supposed to carry out our democratic practices. I think we need to be given a break as a country. There are people, we are not short of people. If it was my friend Otiende, whose democratic credentials I respect, I may not agree with them, I would listen to him, but not from certain quarters. And therefore, I think a time has come where let us give attention to those who deserve it. And those who deserve to be given a blackout, let them be given. That is what Senator Wamatangi in short is saying, and I agree with him entirely.
All right. Otiende Amolo.
Well, first of all, Wamatangi is living in denial, and his effort to answer my question has succeeded in not answering it at all. It is not a question of whether we are in a desirable situation, but it's a question of the reality in which we are, especially the reality that Jubilee finds itself. There is no way you can be sitting on the fence. Either you're on the Tanga side or you're on the Team Kenya side. Now, you have some lectured us on the ethics of politics in Kenya, but that is not the question right now. The question is, we know where Aaron Cheruiyot is. We know where Dr. Halwale is. Where are you? Are you still Kieletanga, or was it now Tangatangi, or something like that? And I think from that cartoon, you know, that vehicle, it's not moving at all, and that is the reality. Now, you better decide on which side you are. Are you on the crying side, you know, or are you on this other consultative side? That's what you must decide.
I will answer
now,
you.
Number two, number two, I think that we need to make this point and make it again. Our ethics as a country has gone so low, generally, especially in politics. The level of corruption is so high that the place of solace that one would expect to help us recapture our moral code is the church.
Yes.
There's clear evidence that the church is becoming worse than the rest of the community. The church is not only amoral in several ways, and we've seen many examples of pastors doing all sorts of things, but what is more worrying now is that that level is starting to permeate the more mainstream churches, the ACKs, the Catholic Church, you know, the SDS, and they are starting to accept the immorality of the temptation of money to explain everything else. And we are starting to have leaders going to church every day and spewing things that you cannot imagine. And Aaron Cheruiyot, some of our colleagues, especially from your side of the political divide, have been doing a lot of that, and you know. Some, they do that, then they go and apologize to NS, the National Cohesion Commission, they apologize, then they do it again. Now, what's worrying is that the church is allowing the pulpit to be used as an arena of spewing hatred, and that is not acceptable. I think the church must claim its moral ground. I think the church, while it requires money for all sorts of development, the church must insist that only clean money comes to church, or stop us politicians from participating in those things. Thirdly, I think that to the extent of revisiting what I truly said, and Aaron Cheruiyot, in all fairness, I have indicated that I do not agree with the idea of stopping somebody from getting to the ballot. But I did not hear Atwoli saying that the deputy president will be dead. That is a construction you are drawing yourself. He did not say any such thing. So to draw that, that extrapolation and then relate it to issues of Muchai and all is unfortunate. Now, I say that it is okay and everybody should be given that opportunity. But that is not to say that if then you do not go there because of processes of the law, if then you are charged in a court of law, whether you are the deputy president, and it must be remembered there's no immunity for the deputy president. If you are charged, whether it's with land-related matters or issues of corruption and found guilty, and for that reason then becoming ineligible, there's nothing wrong with that. But what I am saying is that we should not set out to say there are certain people who cannot be allowed to get to the contestation. Let people get there, but let us beat them there. Having said that, it introduces a last issue that I think bears talk. The more we talk about those kinds of issues and the tone with which Aaron Cheruiyot spoke on that clip and Boni Halwale, it is also a tone that increases dangers in terms of the security of the person, including to Francis Atwoli. Yes. And so in the same breath with which you are making the question of if something happens to the deputy president, you have by that, your own statement, raised it so that if something was to happen to Francis Atwoli, then you gentlemen would primarily have to answer, and I think that's unfortunate. One thing that I think perhaps we will need to speak to, that is if Dubal agrees, is this question of withdrawal of security of members of parliament and senators, yes. It is something that has happened to us before. I do not know my colleagues here if that has happened to them. I think it's Wamatangi who spoke to it, but Wamatangi was speaking more in terms of, security in the areas of residence and all. I believe that the security that members of parliament have usually is just the personal security. If there is extra, then I don't know. But I do not agree with withdrawal of security of members of parliament, depending on whether you agree with what they say or not. Because protecting members of parliament is not necessarily for their own good. It is actually for the good of the electorate, because they elected that member to represent them. The security of that member is security to the electorate. And besides, it is so much cheaper to protect an elected member of parliament than to allow something adverse to happen to a member of parliament, then you go for a by-election. Elections in this country are the most expensive in Africa. You'll be surprised to note, by the last election, the average cost per voter was 2,500 Kenya shillings. If you compare that with Ghana, which comes to about 1,200 Kenya shillings, Tanzania at about 500 shillings per voter, Uganda at 400, and the cheapest is Rwanda. Rwanda at 100 per voter. Now, if you were to conduct a by-election, in a constituency with 100,000 voters, you are talking 250 million. Isn't it much, much cheaper to protect the elected member than to allow some adversity? So on that, I think it bears talking to. And perhaps as Parliament, as the speakers of Parliament, it might be time to reconsider the question of security of members that does not depend on the whim of the executive.
All right, let's hear from Boni Khalwale.
Yes, I would also like to speak to the issue of Ruto not being on the ballot paper in 2013. In 2022. Dear Kenyans, this is nothing new. These are the traditional politics of how you can stop the perceived strongest opponent of yours from facing you. Kenyans will remember that just before Moi succeeded Kenyatta, because he was the apparent heir, there was even an attempt to change the constitution of Kenya so as to stop Moi. Kenyans will also remember that in this particular case of Ruto, a member of parliament from Kisumu County, I think Kisumu West or something, actually went to court to move the, and attempted to move the court to find
Kisumu Central.
Kisumu Central.
It was in Parliament. He brought a motion.
He brought a motion in Parliament to move Parliament to stop the Deputy President from being on the ballot paper. David Murathe and Orengo, in their anti-Ruto movement, they are attempting to go to court to move the court so that the court can find that Ruto should not be on the ballot paper. Attempts have also been used to use age as a factor of attempting a perceived, to stop a perceived opponent from being on the ballot paper. Jacoyo, you remember that on the lead up to the 2002 election, there was an attempt to stop Kibaki and Nyachae from being on the ballot paper because they were over 70, because younger politicians wanted to have a chance. Now the shoe has come on the other foot. Raila, who was moving the agenda to stop Kibaki and Nyachae by virtue of their age, now there are some people who are attempting to stop Raila from being on the ballot paper because of age. This is going to continue. Ruto should take it within his stride that they are speaking to only one thing, that he is the man to beat. Ruto is not a stranger on the presidential ballot paper. In 2013, he was on the ballot paper. In 2017, he was on the ballot paper. And Kenyans remember, in 2013, many people, including Atuoli, said that Ruto and Uhuru would not be on the ballot paper because of ICC. But they ended up being on the ballot paper. I'm therefore convinced that Ruto will be on the ballot paper in 2022. My brother, I want to agree with you, Otienda Molo, on the issue you have raised about the church maintaining the moral high ground. But what we are talking about is sadaka. When you talk about clean money vis-a-vis dirty money, what is dirty money and what is clean money? Over the weekend, your hero, Atuoli, and your hero, Joho, were in Lamu. One was carrying 2 million, the other one was carrying 1 million. Was it clean money or was it dirty money? Supposing we put it to you, Otienda Molo, that money from the proceeds of drug trafficking is dirty money. Would we be therefore saying that the money that was in Lamu was dirty money by dint of allegations that Joho is a drug dealer? So to say, because there have been allegations that Ruto is corrupt, therefore any money he might have is dirty money, proceeds from corruption, is to be lazy in an attempt to think critically.
You're the one saying.
No, but
Finally,
Yes, it does go.
finally, I want to debunk this myth, especially by many jokers like Atwoli. The money we are giving in churches, we did not start last year when we became friends with Ruto. Atwoli, I welcome you to Musoli Catholic Church, which I, as member of parliament, committed my income to renovating. It is now an ultra-modern church. I welcome you to Marinya Catholic Church, for which I bought the property on which it sits and put up the church with the support of the Christians who don't have much income, and have virtually built that church in Marinya. We have been doing these things, only that we don't go to the media. If you are in politics, and what I'm hearing from Otiende is evidence of being a greenhorn in politics. If you are in politics and you don't participate in building the churches for the Christians, who on earth is going to vote for you? You know, we come from areas which are not like Nyanza. Nyanza, there's only one vote. But that one vote, once it votes for you, you don't have to build any churches, you don't have to build primary schools, you don't have to build health centers. But the lie is now being debunked, and that's why the Waterloo that you faced in Ugenya got you up with you guys.
Churches have existed without even the support of politicians over the years. I mean, history can bear that. We don't need the politicians to actually build.
Churches.
Does it mean that also that if politicians have built these churches, then also they are supposed to have also some spaces on the pulpit?
I am very poor at the Bible. I leave it to my priest usually to interpret the Bible for me and so on.
So you don't
but
even
I know that within the Bible, there is that verse about 10%. That
Malachi 3:10.
In Malachi 3:10, thank you very much, my pastor.
Yeah.
So, so it is this 10% that has been building our churches. And who says politicians, when they produce their 10%, that is dirty money? I want to urge politicians from Nyanza, led by Amolo Otiende, who has a very bright future, or if only you can stop psychophancy, to now go and work for the people instead of working for a perceived party leader from your region. Working for the people will mean you roll up your sleeves, you continue building the houses I've seen you building, you build churches, build primary schools, instead of coming to Nairobi talking about democracy, change the constitution so that Raila can get this. Go and work for the people.
All right, I challenge
I
you
will
to respond to that.
No problem. Or I can do it now.
Let's hear from
I can do it now.
Let's hear from Jacob. We'll come to you.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Dibal, come your flock, because now we are in this priesthood talk. because
We are in church.
the DP said.
You are next to the Archbishop.
No, Wamatangi has today clarified that the document which was used as Kasarani was a Bible, because the talk has been there that it was not a Bible. It was one of those papers, because it was, why would you take a Bible knowing you stole elections? But they used it if it was a Bible. Wamatangi has a farm. But we are in this Bible talk this morning. From weekend, DP said, when I am done with what I am doing, I would want to be a priest. I can also tell Kenyans that if William Ruto was a priest, if he's praying, I would never close my eyes. Because I would not know which land, what would have happened to the land I'm standing on. I can never close my eyes. If he is the prayer or the priest, that is a church I would very much run away from. But, you know, Boni cannot get away with so much. But Boni, you know, I don't know between you and Otiende who would pass for a psychopath. Because I liked the old you. The new you puzzles me, because my brother, I was watching you one time when you were with, you were on TV talking about a fundraising that you attended in church. And in this fundraising, you gave 50,000 shillings as Senator of Kakamega. Then you questioned, where does Ruto get 10 million shillings to spend every week? What has happened? I mean, if you are saying, now you are saying it is okay. And when you are senator, with the power of the people. I forget the correct word, but you are a senator representing the people of Kakamega, and you questioned the people going to church, and you said William was there, and you said how he uses 10 million shillings a week in churches, and you questioned where does the money come from. That is what I'm questioning, and that really, in a discourse like what we are engaged in, that we wake up every Tuesday morning, we must begin to ask, why are nearly 100% of Kenyans having no idea of where to get money from? And one or two politicians have an idea to do what even Joe and Atuli were doing in Lamu. Where do the millions come from? Where do they, you can even call us wealth haters, all that. We want you to make wealth. And in fact, in poverty-stricken nations, people make a lot of money. But we want to know, that is, the Kenya revenue, the word revenue means, revenue collection of, the word revenue itself means source of fund, means how do you collect? Where do we get these tens of millions? And I can disagree also that it is okay to do harambes or do those buildings you want my brother to do, Tiende, because the MP. No, that's the work of the nation. The mere fact that the tax we pay is stolen and given to churches which don't pay taxes is in itself and something we are trying to resolve. If money was not stolen, schools would have been built. You don't need a parliamentarian who should be sitting in Bunge to go and donate. So, what am I saying? To borrow PLO's words, that we need to make our politics, to sanitize our politics. I think this is dirty. I disagree with Atuli for name calling, but I disagree that somebody should take away Ruto's chance to be on the ballot. I disagree that somebody should take away Atuli's chance to talk. Atuli is a trade unionist. If Atuli got there wrongly, what about the Jubilee government? They are also in the wrong place. Right. We are talking about a bunch of thieves. Let us clean them by law, not by individualizing them.
All right. Yeah. Let's hear from Senator Matangi.
Yes,
then I go to the next question.
Dibal, can I try to take this last opportunity to try and convince Otiende Amolo that I don't have to be in any of the places where he thinks I should be, and neither should I follow his dictates. That where he feels the political temperature is hot and favorable to the germination of his ideas is where I should be. I mean, I not only have a right to choose, but I would also want to tell you, Otiende Amolo, I think, I'm sure being the good lawyer you are, and I see you keep healthy because I play football with you once in a while. But I'm sure at one time you've had an opportunity to visit a doctor, and for that matter, one who put the hand on yours to feel your pulse. And that's what I'm talking about. That as a politician, you must be able to feel the pulse of the nation, the heartbeat of the people, the conscience of the people, and what it is saying. Or otherwise, you have the choice to subscribe to the facts and dictates and thoughts and the temperature of what politicians think is the right thing. And I want to persuade you by saying two things, hopefully. Remember what Halwale tried to say to you earlier, and I will say to you in these ways. There are many times when politicians thought they were right, but they were wrong and proven wrong by Kenyans. Remember during that election, when Kenyatta left his office, and everybody who was a know-it-all, who was a great talker, an orator, and a political manipulator, all thought that they were right by saying that Moi would not occupy that position. But the people proved them wrong. And the reason why they proved them wrong is because there's something different they saw in Moi that they thought would deliver to them. Remember the subsequent election of Kibaki. Kibaki was not going to be the candidate of choice in Uhuru Park. But the heartbeat of the people, the pulse, the quiet one, that is not noisy, felt and spoke that is the man people trusted. And that is the key word.
Remember, again after Kibaki's election and serving 2 terms, then Uhuru was again the most unlikely candidate. But the choices that people made were different. Why? Because that thing I've told you about called the heartbeat of the people. And that is maybe when you're in the midst of too much noise, political noise, you don't feel that heartbeat, Otiende Amolo. So you need to remove yourself from the noise and the cacophony and the drums to hear what the people are saying. That it is very likely, and that is what I was saying to my leaders in Jubilee, that the verdict of the people all the time, when it comes to making that decision, if you do not deliver on what the people have said, they will call you a liar and not give you that opportunity. Lastly, or second lastly, is that issue you spoke about on the security of members of parliament. Dibala, I believe, and Otiende Amolo, again, you said it, that members of parliament it costs more to elect a member of parliament than to guard one. It's also true that members of parliament also are beneficiaries of the Bill of Rights. And so the right to life and security is also bestowed upon them by the Constitution. And I'm sure that is a favorite document. Now, for this one, don't refer to the Constitution on what I'm about to say. Now refer now to a book maybe you're not very friendly to, the Bible. Now, because Otiende, my friend, you know, from that, you know, the story you've told us about the church and how the church should conduct itself. That you are right in some ways, but wrong in others. One, you see, let's be clear, Dibal, that the deputy president, a member of parliament, Otiende Amolo in his constituency, for those people who are in the church, the congregation, he's still the member of parliament. That the governor in a county is still the governor of that congregation in that church. And because I was saying to Otiende Amolo, I know he does not read the Bible a lot, but please read this verse or look for this verse. It says very clearly in the Bible that Christians or believers are obligated to respect their leaders. And so when you go to church and you're given an opportunity to speak, what the church would be urged to do is to caution against the language. It would be very preposterous for us to expect that when that sanduku or that small bag of sadaka is brought to every person in the church, that you expect that the priest will first stop you, tell you before you dip your hand in here to put your contribution or your sadaka, tell us where you got it from. And then goes to the other one, put in here, but first tell us where you got it from. I mean, it can't happen. It doesn't happen. It never happened. Even when, remember in that story of the Bible, in the Bible, when that woman went and put in her small sadaka, Jesus did not first stop her and tell us, before I pronounce your greatness, tell me where you got it from. He just spoke after she had put in the money and said, I think she contributed the most. I mean, that is the nature of how it works. So because we are all not generous, Otiende Amolo, and you don't have to be all the time if you are not anyway. It is not also fair that we condemn those who choose to be generous to the church. Right. I have myself made my policy that when I'm doing my campaign, I will hinge myself with the church because I know the two of us can deliver.
Thank you.
To what the wishes of my people are.
That was the last one. But also, as you're mentioning that particular story of the Bible, remember also Jesus knew, he had the discernment. He said she has contributed the most because she's given all. How did Jesus know that she's given all? Well, Jesus knew the source as well.
Well, I mean,
Jesus knew the source of this particular money, isn't it? Is a church that discerning as it is today? No, my question will be
it's not the source. It is not the source that he knew. But anyway, he was God. He would know a lot. But otherwise, it is not necessarily the source he knew, but he would know it. But it is the spirit that she gave him.
Okay. Yeah. My question, and as we were talking before I come to you, Aaron Cheriot, is the fact that why are we allowing politics on the pulpit? This is sacrilegious. It's supposed to be a sanctified pulpit, only the word of God. And why has the church sunk to that particular, on this law, that yes, we'll have politicians coming to have this verbal, ping pong on the pulpit? My question will be, my question will be, if we may just look at our Muslim brothers, will they brook this sort of nonsense that is really happening on the pulpit? will they actually try and adulterate the sanctity of the mosques and the pulpit? Will it happen?
You know, Dibal,
what should the church...
What I would be
maybe
saying
I'm asking the wrong
yes,
panelist.
No, you're saying, what you're saying is right. And I would say this. Actually, on that part, I verily believe that the church has an obligation to caution the regulation, the moderation of language that one uses when they are speaking in church. That's very important to retain the sanctity of the church.
I think, Dibal, you're mixing up so many issues. To the best of my knowledge, and I say this as somebody who regularly goes to church and on some of these functions, on many occasions, these clips of yours that you play here, the 2-minute clip of politicians speaking in church, are misleading. They are misleading because on most, if not all occasions, where I myself have been there or I've seen the deputy president or any of the leaders that participate in these church functions, many of the times, the reason they get the chance to speak to the congregation is that is normally after the church service and probably just before, and on most occasions they'd be there, say, for a fundraiser. And of course, being a member of a county assembly, an MCA or a governor or a senator or a deputy president or the president, you have come before the people that voted for you. You're about to participate in an exercise that is not ordinarily what people go to do to church, because people go to church to pray, but this is people are now fundraising for them to build the church. Therefore, what crime does the church commit if they allow these very people who have come to help in this function get to greet the congregation? I perhaps think that the better argument for you, Dibal, and I would agree with you on that one, is that we still need to regulate what politicians get to say within the confines of church. And on this one, I want to agree with you that we have fallen afoul of what is expected of us, one, as leaders and also as Christians, because some of the things that are said are not right in accordance. I think that is where you need to take the debate. We quickly want to say something about this issue of security being withdrawn. You know, and as members of the Fourth Estate also, Dibal, you owe it to Kenyans to be diligent and not take lethargic answers like what I watched here on NTV last night, because I saw your reporter, Dennis Okari, interviewing CS Matiang'i, and he asked him this question, and I saw the kind of response that he got from the answer. So off the beat about it, that, oh, this is a regular police exercise where we are rationalizing the bodyguards. Of course, the next question that I expected him to ask is, what kind of rationalization is this that affects only members of parliament that, one, come from a particular region, and two, are in the politics of a country aligned to the deputy president? That is a question that I expected him to ask. I've seen Charles Owino, and rightly though, he put a caveat and said, in any case, as cabinet secretary, it is not within his mandate to direct the operations of the police. Therefore, that falls squarely under the docket of this gentleman called Bwana Mutiambai, who we approved less than 2 or 3 weeks ago. And he took an oath to swear that he is going to protect and defend our constitution. I want to remind the Inspector General of Police that you're so new into the office. Please do not sink the National Police Service into a political outfit. Kenyans fought so hard for it to be included in our constitution as an independent organ of governance structure. And therefore, the things that are happening, where members of parliament that are allied to certain political divides are losing security based on their political persuasion, is extremely wrong. The fact that you continue to keep quiet and pretend to be aloof about it is really shocking to this country. I'd wish that before the end of today, you address the country and speak to this very grave concern. And I agree with Otiende that perhaps time has come for us as parliament, and I say this as a commissioner of the Parliamentary Service Commission, to consider whether this relationship that we have between us as a Parliamentary Service Commission and National Police Service, where they provide security for members of parliament, is tenable anymore. If they can be withdrawn based on the whims of the political tides at the moment, then perhaps we need to see if there's a possibility of engaging private security. In any case, many of these police officers serve as agents, informing the actions and the political divisions of their members, of their bosses, to the employer. Their genuineness and loyalty lies with the person that has employment. Finally, there's something that Jacoyo keeps on raising week in, week out about this contribution of the DP. And the question that I have for you, Jacoyo, is that I know you're an adult. You have your money too. You have chosen to invest yours in, you know, the kind of businesses you run. If you have chosen to invest yours in bus, and the deputy president has chosen to build churches, what is your problem? Handle your money the way you handle yours. Let him build churches with his. I mean, are we not adults that are supposed to make conscious decisions with our money of what we do with it?
Thank you. Right. Otieno Molo, you're supposed to respond and you prepare our headline thoughts, kindly.
I want to assure my friend Wamatangi that I am not only a Christian, a committed Catholic of the Order of St. Austin. I am also the son of a catechist. I know the Bible, I pray a lot. So pontificating about the Bible does not make you more biblical. The point that was being made, and it is true that even historically, bad money, there was a time that bad money came into the church. If you remember the story in Matthew 21, when Jesus came into the church and found money changers and other traders who obviously were, you know, in cahoots with the church leaders at the time, and they had disgraced the place. And that is when Jesus chased them away. What we are talking about now are the new money changers who have entered the church. And the explanation are the kind of explanation Aaron Cheruiyot is giving right now. It is time to chase away the money changers. Now, to my friend, Dr. Halwale. Dr. Halwale keeps saying this, and I remember last week he attacked Edwin Sifuna as a person who was not elected. Today he has, explained to me, called me a political greenhorn, advised me on what I need to do to be re-elected. But Dr. Halwale forgets that he just lost an election.
Yes.
If you are so knowledgeable, why didn't you win? I mean, seriously? For a person who just lost an election, to explain how not to lose an election is a contradiction. But now you ask the question, what is clean money? I want to give you the simplest example. Dr. Halwale, clean money is the 50,000 you used to give in church. That money is the 2 million you now give now. That is the easiest explanation. Because you are, in fact, in a position to have more money then as an elected senator than now. But now you seem to have much more than you had then. Now, what is the issue to be focused on? I think that what the church must do, and it's not a question of looking at how much one has given in terms of the sadakas. You know, the ordinary congregation in any church is not the culprit. They will always give what they are able to give, whether it's in tithes or otherwise. The issue are the occasional visitors who come in the name of politicians and then stand in that pulpit, and Aaron, they speak in church, not after. If you look at all those clips, you will see the priest is there. You know, they're right there in the pulpit. The congregation is down this side. That is desecrating the church. Some of the church leaders in my area have now given generally a sanction that any church that invites politicians must notify them. And then once they're notified, then it's a question of, are they coming to pray or are they coming for a fundraiser? Because no one can stop anybody from praying. But the question of coming for a fundraiser in the guise of giving like 10 million and then saying unpalatable things is what must be controlled.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lastly, and I think we will need to revisit this question of the security. I had given my views on it. The only caveat I would add is that it is also true that there are some of us who are members of parliament and who are unduly advantaged. They were given a lot more security than the rest of us. Now, if that is what is being controlled, if somebody has 5 security people or 4 security people and is being reduced to the bare minimum, there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's complete withdrawal, then it's unacceptable.
Right, thank you. Let's hear finally from Boni Halwale as we're winding up as well.
Yeah, thank you. I think you raised the issue of the morality of people making speeches from the pulpit. May I beg you, go across at Book Point and buy a book called The Speeches That Changed the World.
I have it.
You have it.
Yes.
And in there, you'll find that some of those great speeches were made from the pulpit, up to and including the greatest speeches in Black history of America of Dr. Martin Luther King, that he had a dream. Speaking in church,
That was not in church.
Speaking in church.
I had a dream was not in
says-
church. No.
I'm the one speaking. Then you
But
you
you're misleading.
respond. Why are you people agitated?
It was not in church.
Why are you people
The
agitated?
walk on Washington.
Yeah.
Why
was
are you
not in church.
agitated?
Because you're actually misleading the nation.
Focusing,
He has spoken before in church.
focusing on my brother. That was a sermon, Dr. King. In fact, it's on video.
But not in
Dr.
church.
King was giving a sermon to that huge crowd. Excuse
That
me.
was not a church.
A church is not the building. According to the Bible, a church is where two or more. Listen to me. Listen to me.
Yes.
Listen to me. It is my flow now. A church is where two or more people are gathered in the name of the Lord.
Yes, it's true.
So I come to my brother, son of catechist. I'm happy to learn that you are a Catholic like me. Why are you misleading people? The Catholic Church is one of the most organized churches, one of them, most organized. And you know that there is a provision for when speeches can be made. The entire mass is said, and then the priest sits there in the corner and allows the church, a designated person in the church, I don't know what they call him, to start the speeches. Yeah, the announcements, and it follows. And this is where we make our entry point. My last point, which I think is important, is on security of members of parliament. Colleagues, please consider amendment of the Powers and Privileges Act. In fact, if Jacoy and I were you, we would be urging the Inspector General to withdraw policemen from tracking you. Change the act so that you are allowed to employ people in whom you have confidence, people who are not going to report on you, on where you sleep, who you sleep with, on what you eat, who you eat with. Those people around you, the called policemen, are just informers.
Right, thank
That's
you.
all.
Right, thank you. Let's leave it at that. No, we are winding up. No closing remarks. We have to wind up on this.
No, it could be very unfair to us.
Give Jacoy.
No, we've got to.
No, they have given that. No, it's not true.
Misused his time.
Let's stop for time.
No, give us a minute.
No, we don't have time for.
No, you must give us
There
a
are no
minute.
closing remarks. We actually.
I have not spoken.
You've spoken.
No,
That's why we went
I've not spoken
sequentially.
about the security.
Jacoy must speak.
Jacoy, 30 seconds.
Yes, on my 30 seconds.
Yes.
Because you know, this guy says I choose to invest my money in banks. I employ people. But my source of my funding is known. Ruto's source of funding that he chooses to invest is. But let me say something about security. It is wrong. It is wrong what the state is treating Kenyans to. And Jubilee is paying, the chicken has come home to roost.
Thank you.
They refused us the power, the opportunity to reform the police force.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Did I have a closing remark?
There are no closing remarks. Thank you for your time. No, all the time. But you see, no.